Okay, so I have a question for you. When you think about climate change, what comes to mind? Is it cars? Is it industrialization and smokestacks? Is it plastic in the ocean? That's what most people think of. But the truth is that your plate might actually be one of the most powerful climate tools that you have. Think about it. The food that we eat, we're eating multiple times a day, every single day. And if we can shift our eating habits to be as climate friendly as possible, that has massive, massive ripple effects. So, today we're talking about food, climate, and what it means to eat in a way that actually supports people, animals, the planet, and your own personal healing. So for me, the journey towards a plant based lifestyle started with health reasons. I have a longer video about this on my channel. It wasn't my personal health reasons. Somebody I love was facing terminal cancer. And at the same time, I was seeing that my body wasn't acting in the ways that I wanted it to. I was exhausted. I was lethargic. I was having digestion issues where I wasn't passing food through my system more than every other day. I felt inflamed and I felt disconnected from my body. And I was learning about how so many diseases that are preventable are caused by the ways that we eat. So I went plant based, and the results were way more than I could have even imagined. My energy came back, my digestion improved, I felt clear headed, clear minded, finally. And I realized that industrial agriculture truly is stripping the land as a process. So when I first went vegan, it was for health reasons. I later adopted the climate reasons when I worked in climate advocacy. And I realized that deforestation, monocropping, worsening our soil quality, and extraction and exploitation by these big corporations is all connected. Traditional indigenous land stewardship types of farming are really, really quickly becoming replaced with all of these industrialized agricultural practices that are horrible for the environment and the planet, and of course, the animals and even our own health. And as I've started to connect the dots, I've realized this truly isn't just about me. These systems are so much bigger than I could have even imagined. And if you want to join me in really chatting about some of these topics on a regular basis, please join my free community on School called The Plant Powered Path. And you can check out my cookbook at veganswahili.com to dive into some of the delicious high vibrational recipes that I love to share with you. And I really do want to just break down animal agriculture because I don't think most people realize just how massive the impacts of animal agriculture are on our planet. The farming of animals produces more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire global transportation sector. That means all of the world's planes, cars, buses, and trains combined use less carbon than the global food systems reliant on animal agriculture. And not only is it using all of this carbon, but it's also one of the biggest users of land and water. For example, we know that we're seeing our freshwater stores on our planet decrease rapidly, but just 1 pound of beef, 1 pound of cow flesh takes about 1,800 gallons of water to produce. So we're destroying forests all over the world. The Amazon rainforest, the Congo rainforest basin, all of these trees are being cut down to grow agricultural crops, including soy. But that soy isn't fed to humans. That soy is for livestock feed. And these cycles are taking away some of the most important carbon sinks that we have on our planet. The trees and the land and the true giants of our world are holding carbon in their cells, in their trunks, in their roots. But once you cut them down, that carbon is released over time. And so having carbon sinks is super, super important. But we're seeing animal agriculture is leading to a degradation and destruction of these carbon sinks. Let me know in the comments what you think about animal agriculture and how it relates to climate change, ecosystem collapse. I know that there are a whole lot of points we can be touching on, but I really just want people to start connecting the dots because it took me forever to connect the dots. I was vegan for at least 3 or 4 years before I truly understood the environmental impacts and consequences of eating a traditional Western diet or a diet very heavy in animal products. And once I realized it, I could never go back. I actually worked for the largest environmental advocacy group in New York State for years. And I had to step away from that work because, as much as we were prioritizing banning fracking and banning offshore oil drilling and fighting climate change through fossil fuel reduction, we weren't touching at all on industrial agricultural practices. And that's ridiculous when you realize that this is even more impactful on the environment than the transportation sector is. And I really just want to make sure that we are not just talking about climate, but we also are talking about health equity and environmental equity. So, in my community, in the US Black American community, we are disproportionately impacted by heart disease and diabetes and high blood pressure. And these are all preventable diet related diseases. But at the same time, right now, we're seeing that Black Americans are adopting a vegan or a plant based lifestyle at the highest rate. And I love this. I think that's such a beautiful thing. We're reclaiming our health, not because it's trendy, but because we're tuning back into ancestral diets and the diets for thousands and thousands of years that our ancestors ate that were largely plant based. And this is the same for many people in equatorial or tropical regions around the world. If there's an abundance of fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, and beans that are growing around you all the time, why would you need to take a life in order to fuel yourself? And I really, really want everyone to take a deep breath because I know it can be overwhelming when we think about climate change, when we think about how we can make the most impact. But I truly believe that it can start at our plate. This is not something that's just good for our health or for the animals, but it's also good for the health of the planet and future generations. I love to encourage people to choose foods that nourish you and nourish the planet. And that isn't just eating plant based, that includes eating locally sourced foods or growing your own food at a garden or community garden. That includes really making sure that you're reducing transportation that goes into how your food is getting to your plate. So, eating foods that are grown in your state or in your area instead of foods that are grown halfway across the world is another great way to reduce your climate impact. I truly believe that we're living in some unprecedented times. We're at an inflection point in human history where the decisions that we are making over the next few years is going to determine what this entire planet looks like for hundreds or thousands of years to come. And we cannot continue business as usual. Industrial animal agriculture is clearly tearing our planet apart. And you can watch documentaries like Seaspiracy to really dive into the fishing industry, which is horrifically destructive in the ways that trawling and scraping the ocean floor is resulting in habitat loss and ecosystem destruction. There are tons of other amazing documentaries all across the plant-based spectrum. Drop your favorite ones in the comment. But that's my number one recommendation to truly start to connect the dots between how we eat and the impacts on the planet. And I'm so happy that I have this opportunity to speak to you. I don't know if you're vegan, if you're on your journey, if you're somewhere in between, but I do just want to say thank you for caring about making the world a more sustainable place for ourselves, for future generations, because we all deserve to enjoy the beauty of this planet. I'm so, so grateful for all of the amazing humans who really, truly do care about using their diet and the way that we're eating as activism. If you're eating 3 meals a day and all of those meals are plant-based, that's some amazing activism. You're making sure not only that animals aren't losing their lives, but you're reducing the amount of trees that are cut down. You're making sure that you're not responsible for so many emissions that are catalyzing ecosystem loss and the climate crisis that we're all facing. And I do believe that especially in the West, there is a moral obligation and responsibility to adopt a plant-based lifestyle because the effects of climate change are seen disproportionately by the communities that have the least to do with climate change. So the people who have the most to do with climate change are not nearly as impacted as people who have the least to do with climate change, those who are sticking to ancestral diets, who are not over consuming or consuming foreign foods from all over the world every single day, yet they're somehow still affected the most by this crisis. And we've seen the horrific mass flooding events, superstorms, we've seen earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunamis, wildfires, and it's just getting worse. But we can turn the tide by collectively working to shift towards a more regenerative lifestyle and more regenerative practices. And that's what I love to share on my channel here at Vegan Sunny. I know that it is not always easy to adopt the lifestyle that you're most morally aligned with, but every single step that you're taking in that direction is a big win for the planet, for the animals, and even for your own personal health. So I'm so grateful for you for caring deeply about these issues, caring deeply about the climate crisis. We only have one planet. There is no planet B. We have to make sure we are protecting this beautiful earth for future generations and also for ourselves. I plan to be here for at least another 50, 60 years. So I do not want this earth turning into decay and ecosystem collapse. But that's the path that we are on if we continue these extractive methods that we've been utilizing only for the past few hundred years. And so that's also something I want people to realize, that industrial animal agriculture is not the norm. We have been conditioned to believe that this is normal by the capitalist class that is taking the opportunity away from us to decide what our future is going to look like. And I believe that we deserve to have a say in what our future looks like. And we deserve to have a future that is abundant, that is full of love and light and compassion, especially for animals, but also other humans. You know, there are horrific injustices and human rights atrocities happening right now in Gaza, in Sudan, all across the world. We need to make sure we are collectively coming together and fighting for peace. And sometimes that fight for peace seems scary. It may seem like we're the underdogs. It may seem like all of these systems are against us. But I truly believe in the powers of collaboration, of cooperation, of working together, and of using our voice. And the reason why I've been coming on live and chatting about this stuff more often is because things are getting pretty scary. Climate change is only worsening. We are seeing some of the worst wildfires in human history. And that's a direct result of how we are eating, especially the California wildfires. The entire state was draining all of its water sources, aquifers, natural streams, all of this water to go towards agricultural output. And that's not just avocados and almonds like people might try to make you believe, but it is animal agriculture. It is industrial farming. It is these extractive methods that continue to pull from the earth without pouring into the earth. And we do need to be really mindful of where our food is coming from, even if we are eating plant-based. It is so much better to vote with your dollar or to vote with your money. So if you're eating plant-based, but you're still supporting agricultural companies that are extracting, that are continuing to monocrop and exploit animals and exploit land and cut down rainforests, you might want to analyze where you're buying your fruits and vegetables and grains and beans from and see if you can shift that towards something more harmonious with the planet. And that's something like a local farm or a farmer's co-op, a cooperative where people are coming together, working a plot of land and knowing that they can't just buy another plot of land once they degrade the soil there, that they actually have to pour back into that land in order to continue harvesting. So even if you are plant-based, I know a lot of people who are here, who are on this channel, are already vegan, really work to be mindful of where your food is coming from and see if you can support cooperatives, community gardens, local farms, smallholder agriculture, especially indigenous farms, Black farms, people of color who are doing this work, who have been stewards of the land for so long. These are the types of farming methods, agroforestry, regenerative agriculture, more sustainable methods that we should be supporting. And I know there's all of these other labels that we have to contend with. There's non-GMO, when there's organic produce, and there's always the question of, okay, what is truly the best for me to consume to try to be as ethical of a consumer as possible. And I really want to encourage you to explore those local farms, to explore regenerative agriculture or even veganic agriculture in your area. And if you don't know what veganic agriculture is, that is organic combined with vegan agriculture. So that's where you don't use any manure or any animal products. You don't use animals to till the land. You are working with plant-based, mushroom-based agricultural processes exclusively. So definitely look into some of these methods. I want us to continue to share all of these ideas for a better and brighter future. Like I said, these big, massive corporations are trying to steal our futures away from us. They're acting like there is no alternative, but there are infinite alternatives if we just get a little bit creative, if we work together to come up with solutions, and if we continue to share the solutions that are actually pouring into the world and not just extracting and then moving on. So I want to thank you so much for being here with me, for caring deeply about the climate crisis. I know it is not easy. And the last thing that I do just want to say is I know in our community, whether that's the vegan community, the activist community, the NGO or nonprofit community, the people who really are pouring our hearts and souls and bodies and minds into ideating and collaborating towards a better future, it is so easy to pour all of this energy outwards and forget to pour inwards. So let's just do like a quick little box breathing session to do a hard reset of our nervous system, to just tell our nervous system everything's okay. You don't have to worry. With box breathing, as I lift my hands, we're going to breathe in. As I do this, we're going to hold. As I lower my hands, we're going to breathe out. And as I do this, we're going to hold. We're just going to do that for 4 counts of 4 to do a nice reset for our nervous system, for our somatics, to remind our bodies everything is okay. As much as I'm very, very passionate about fighting climate change, I also recognize that we can't pour from an empty cup. We have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, before we can have the most impact possible on the world. So let's begin just with a deep breath in for 4. And then hold at the top. And breathe out. And then hold. I'm going to do 3 more. Nice. 2 more. Last one. I definitely feel the energy shift after a little bit of box breathing. Allow yourself to embody that everything is okay. As much as everything's not okay and the world is crazy, climate change is getting worse, we're at this inflection point in human history where it's like, I don't even know if our species is going to make it. At the same time, we have to always stay rooted in being here now. And when you stay rooted in being here now, it makes it a lot easier to see the problems and not be in the problems. So it's very, very easy to get carried away when you're on social media and you're seeing so many horrible things happening in the world, to allow that anxiety spiral to just continue and just to run with that anxiety. And climate change is a huge problem. I think this is the most important fight that we have in this time in 2025. We need to fight the climate crisis. We need to shift our systems and create new systems and use innovation and creativity to build a better world and a better future. But at the same time, if we stay so worried about the problems, we're not going to be able to be as clear-minded and as intentional and as present as we need to be in order to build the solutions, build the connections, build the network, and be able to take the steps that it's going to take. This is not a fight that's going to end anytime soon. We've had climate activists for hundreds of years, hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years. But of course, the need for climate activism really began to rise as the Industrial Revolution, the first Industrial Revolution, came to light, because that's where industrial animal agriculture started really taking off. So we've seen in the past few hundred years, there have always been people fighting back. And we have to also recognize, in any form of activism that you're doing, the steps that you are taking today, you might not live to see the impact. You might die before we limit our global temperature rise and are able to say, okay, we're, not seeing carbon levels grow anymore. We're not seeing temperatures rise anymore. Things are stabilizing. I believe we can get to that point. I have no idea if it's going to happen in this lifetime, in our lifetimes. I know the Conference of the Parties, or COP, is happening every single year, and yet it seems like the solutions are getting further away as more countries pull out of these types of international agreements. And I do believe that it really does take a village, and the only thing that's ever changed the world is passionate individuals fighting for what we believe in. So even if things may seem heavy, even if it may seem impossible, even if it's so easy to say, oh, well, like, it's already too far gone, so why am I going to care about this? I believe the most important thing for us to do is just to try. If you have some level of privilege, use that. If you have some level of autonomy, use that. If you have some connections to people who can make a change, use that. If you're eating meals every day, use that. Use your plate to do your activism. Like I said, especially for the vegan community, if you're already plant-based, that is amazing, but we can always do more. We can always make sure we're eating more seasonally, more locally, more sustainably. We can always make sure that we're voting with our dollar. So the money that we're spending on food and on products and on just living our life is going into the systems that we need to see thrive and survive. I fully believe that we need a whole new green economy. I love the green economy and green jobs projects that were promoted in the US. The Green New Deal was something that we really saw promoted by Bernie Sanders and AOC like 4 or 5 years ago. That's something that I think we still need to see take off. And it doesn't have to be the people who started it. They don't have to be the ones who continue the fight and who continue to get this mission to the finish line. I think we all have a role to play in fighting for a better future. And a big part of that fight is through intentionality, is through staying conscious of what we're doing and also staying present so our mind is not preventing us from taking the actions that we need. My hope is that just being here, chatting with you about how our food systems can result in fighting the climate crisis, I hope that you feel inspired to eat more sustainably, eat more locally, support some local farm. If there's a farmer's co-op or another awesome farm in your local area that you can support instead of going to the grocery store and buying from these huge agricultural companies who are probably exploiting and extracting our planet. Even if it's just a portion of your groceries, that's still a big win. And if you're not vegan yet and you want support on your vegan journey, or if you are on your vegan journey, but you want to hang out with me more, do more of these breath exercises, have more of these conversations about how we can use our voice for impact, you can join me at my free community on School, The Plant Powered Path. I am there every single day, posting, commenting, sharing videos, sharing pictures, and I am so, so thankful that I get to share this with you. So thank you for sharing your energy with me. Leave me a comment and let me know, how can you take one step in your life to fight the climate crisis today? What's one thing that you're going to do? Is it reducing your animal product intake? Is it making sure you are shopping at a local farmer's co-op instead of at the grocery store buying produce from one of these giant agricultural businesses? Are you going to finally shift to a plant-based diet, even though you've been questioning it for years and years? Is this the moment? Is this the time where the commitment's coming in? Let me know in the comments what's one thing you're going to make a commitment to yourself and to the planet to take on as a task to fight climate change. I'm so grateful that you care. I'm so grateful that you are sharing this energy with me. And I am so, so excited to also announce that my Vegan Swahili Cookbook is out. And we have our Vegan Swahili spices as well, spices from the East Africa coast that are so delicious. You can check all of that out at veganswahili.com. Thank you for caring. Thank you for just really recognizing that the world we need to see is not going to be easy to get to, but if we continue to take steps towards more regenerative processes, more sustainable processes, and more compassion in our lives, in our food, and in the systems we participate in, that is going to really move this movement forward. I'm so grateful. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful that you are eating a plant-based diet or considering a plant-based diet. Oh, and I see I just pulled up the live comments. Jay, hello. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy everyone's here that tuned in. I really think that there are a lot of solutions that we can continue to share and co-create as well. There are so many solutions that haven't even been thought of, or I haven't thought of them. I don't know if you've thought of them. If you have, share those in the comments. What are some other ways we can continue to fight climate change through our daily actions and make it sustainable for ourselves? You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to make sure you are fueling yourself so you can fuel the world that you want to see. And I'm so grateful that you care deeply about this, just as I do. And I'll see you next time. I'm sure I'm going to be coming on here live again because we have a lot of activism, a lot of work to do in this movement. And we're just getting started. So remember to take care of yourself so you can continue through the movement. And I'll see you next time.